you're definitely not going to get any kind of like toxic positivity from me. I do like it. There are days that I am like, why did I choose? Why do I have all the kids here while I'm trying to get this job done? And I'm failing at everything. I threw all the balls into the air at the same time and I'm dropping them. So there are days like that, but I do find that if I kind of just take a breath and a step back and get like the bigger picture and a little bit of perspective, I'm like, okay, no, this is a good thing.
I'm so excited to share with you this amazing interview with Kristin Harms. She is also, but maybe better known as the Basic Ranch Mom. She's really incredible, a great wealth of information, and just such a relatable person, easy to talk to. I think you're really going to benefit from hearing this interview. Kristin Harms is a ranch wife and marketing specialist on her family's third generation Red Angus seed stock operation. By day, she manages marketing and social media for Bieber Red Angus, and by night, she tells her story as Basic Ranch Mom, sharing real, relatable ranch life from a mom and wife. And she uses her platform to advocate for the industry, share the day to day of ranch life, and find some laughter in between all the chaos. So, without further ado, let's just jump right in because I think Kristin has some really great nuggets for you. Okay. So, hi, Kristin.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, we're good. I'm really excited to talk to you because I feel like we talked, was it like a week ago or 2 weeks ago now? But
Couple, yeah.
yeah, it felt like you have some really good knowledge. And also, like, I've just been watching you on social media, and you always have such great, like, relatable content and things that come up. So I'm excited
Yes.
to hear some of your life experience and maybe get some ideas and some wisdom from you.
Oh,
Um,
I mean,
so
ideas
you
maybe. I don't know if it'll be very wise, but
Oh, we'll see. I'm sure we'll get something. Um, yeah, but so you have kind of an interesting story because you grew up ranching or in a ranch family and then left and then
yes.
decided to come back.
Yes.
So before we get into stuff about kids and pregnancies, could we maybe talk a little bit about like what brought you back to the ranch and kind of maybe did you come back, like did a family or wanting to have a family have anything to do with that coming back or what was
Yes. I mean, it definitely did. So I grew up on the ranch and I had pretty much no intention after high school of sticking around. I was ready to be off to bigger and brighter things. And so that's basically what I did. I left, I went to college. I ended up going to college in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at a small private university called Augustana University. And I got a job after school at a corporation, a manufacturing corporation called Raven Industries in their marketing department. And yeah, that was kind of my plan. I was just gonna stay in Sioux Falls and I was gonna do the corporate job. And that was kind of that. And during that time, I had also met my husband, Jake, who does not have a background in agriculture. So um, we he was working in digital marketing, sales, selling websites, things like that. And we got married, and yeah, we were planning to start a family. And then, as you're doing that, things kind of you change. The vision for your life changes a little bit, and that's kind of where it started for us. Jake had come back to the ranch to help my family a few times, and he just fell in love with it. Like he immediately kind of knew that that's where he needed to be. And I still was like, I don't think that's where we need to be. But after a while of convincing, and also after a little while of us trying to start a family unsuccessfully, um, my my perspective changed a little bit on life, on where I wanted to raise kids, on the kind of future that I saw for myself and for my family. And eventually, yeah, I kind of just changed. And he convinced me to quit my job and we moved back to Leola. And um, I was still not going to work on the ranch. I was going to get a job off of the ranch. I was very strict on that. And he started, just jumping in with 2 feet and learning how to be a rancher, which is just, it's so funny to think back on Jake with no experience now because he looks like he is the most natural person out there now. Um,
Like no
but
small thing, like figure out on the fly too.
right, right. Yes, he really just he knew 7 years ago before that this is where he needed to be. He just like knew. And I am so in awe of that, honestly, because if he hadn't told me, I don't think we would be here. I don't think I would have made that decision on my own. But we came back and I was looking for a job. And like I said, we had been trying to start a family unsuccessfully for a little while. And I tell you what, if we weren't here about 2 months and I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
So we, yeah, we got ready to have a baby. And in the meantime, while I was job hunting, I was also helping my parents do a lot of their data management and marketing, and I kind of just worked myself into a job, and now I'm still here. So, 6 years later, now I work full time doing the marketing. But it did, I mean, it honestly, it just clicked really, really easily. I do a lot of things that they were outsourcing for quite a bit of money, and so my skill set just kind of fit right into what they needed. And when they say, divine intervention or God's timing, and he really did lead us um, to this life and to what we're living right now. So I truly believe that just the way everything fell into place. So,
Wow. So amazing.
yes, yes,
Pretty cool
it is.
story. Um, yeah. So then I guess my next question is, so you had planned to have kids. Did you, when you were younger, did you see other people living kind of a ranching lifestyle and raising kids? Do you have examples of that? Or was this something that you were kind of felt like you were trying to figure out kind of on your own? Or did you have other women around you doing the same?
So you mean like before I got married or
Mhm.
yeah. So before, to be honest with you, before I met Jake, I was not totally sure that I wanted to have kids. I was not the girl that grew up doing a lot of babysitting, or spending a lot of time with kids. I was mostly helping on the ranch, helping my dad with chores, or I wasn't a great hand, but I was out there. And so I just I wasn't super sure that kids were going to be part of my future. And then, as they say, you meet the right partner and things change. And I met Jake, and that just kind of blossomed into us starting a family and me wanting a family. And it's funny because even my mom, when I had my first baby, even my mom said to me after a couple of months, she goes, I gotta be honest, I am so surprised at what a good mom you are. And I
Wow.
was like, what do we mean by this? And she goes, you just didn't like kids. I was like, yeah, I really didn't. And I was like, but I love my own kids. And she said, yeah, you're a great mom, but I was a little worried about you for a while. Uh, but I grew up, as far as having kids on the ranch, I grew up, my mom owned a bookstore for about 20 years. And so it was just a small business. And so I grew up either being at the bookstore with her or being at the ranch with my dad. And when when I was younger and he couldn't take me outside, my grandparents started the ranch. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents on the ranch as well. So I was kind of always around working parents or the ranch lifestyle. It wasn't new to me. to kind of see that mixture of family and business or family and ranching. It just wasn't like a new concept because I felt like I'd kind of seen that my whole life. So.
Do you think that has influenced you in the way that you either positively or negatively in the way that you like intentionally show up for your kids as a working ranch mom? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. I think it was definitely positive. I talk to my husband a lot about just I feel very fortunate for the business mindset that I have, but also for my ability to incorporate my family into that. I know a lot of people really struggle with that balance of family, personal, business, and like where does it all meet? And I feel fortunate having grown up the way I did, just spending time with my parents in their businesses because I learned so much about not just like being in a business, running a business, but I also got to see my parents doing what they're doing. I wasn't one of those kids that didn't know what mom did or know what dad did. I kind of knew what they did every single day. And it really has influenced how we operate now because I bring the kids with me every day, and I have really since I've had them. We tried daycare kind of part-time for a little bit. And I just didn't love it. I really wanted to be able to be working, but also be able to be with my kids all the time. And some days that is not super easy, but it really, having seen my parents do it, I knew that I could do it. And so I feel very fortunate too that I am at my family's operation where my kids see grandma and grandpa every day, and they come with me every day, and they go ride with daddy in the tractor every day. And so it's it's just a really great balance that we have.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And that's such a hard balance to strike, but it sounds like having more adults around maybe is helpful in that, like having, like you said, your parents and your husband also works, on the ranch, and having everybody kind of able to collaborate a little bit. I feel like that sounds like a nice a nice dream of
Yes.
kind of cooperative.
Yeah, they get so many, the kids get so many influences then sometimes as parents we can, if they spend all their time with just one person, they can get these biases and unintentionally. It's not like we're intending to teach our kids to be biased about or see the world through a certain lens in most instances. But it's so nice because they do get so many different perspectives. My mom and my dad are very different people. And, Jake and I parent differently. And it really they just get a lot of exposure. And they do, I do notice that they just are really good at interacting with people because they spend so much time with adults. Interestingly enough, one of the things that I worried about was how they were going to do with other kids, or if there was going to be some sort of like attachment issues with me. And we really have not seen that. They do super well with other kids. And I think it's also because we actually get up and we leave the house every day. We're not, because our Jake and I, we live near the ranch and we're technically on the ranch, but we don't live where the office is or the main ranch place is. We kind of live on the opposite side. So um we get up and we actually physically leave the house and go to the office, the kids call it. And um that makes it nice too. So we're fortunate. I know there's a lot of people that do this totally on their own and don't have grandma and grandpa, or they have to work off farm. And it is not lost on me how nice our situation is and how fortunate both Jake and I are to be able to be working and providing and earning an income, but also be taking care of our kids. That's something that most people do not get to do at the same time. So
Yeah, it's I'm stealing this term from a YouTuber that I like. But it comes up for me like almost every day. She was referring to it about her garden, but to me it's like the burden of abundance of like you love your career,
yeah.
you love your kids, you love your family, like you
Yes.
want to do all of these things, but finding a way to balance it all and keep it all in something somewhat contained and organized is like feels like a really big challenge, like sometimes a little bit like a
Yes.
burden. And then you kind of sit back and you're like, oh yeah, I chose this, and oh yeah, I want this. Like these are all things I love to do, and they're
Yes.
really important to me, and I wouldn't do it differently, but that doesn't make it any less challenging some days too. So
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, I think the way you said that is perfect. I had never heard that term before, but I love that because yeah, you're definitely not going to get any kind of like toxic positivity for me. I do like it. There are days that I am like, why did I choose, why do I have all the kids here while I'm trying to get this job done and I'm failing at everything. I threw all the balls into the air at the same time and I'm dropping them. Uh, so there are days like that, but I do find that if I kind of just take a breath and a step back and get like the bigger picture and a little bit of perspective, I'm like, okay, no, this is a good thing, even though, yes, it is the burden of abundance
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. You posted something I think earlier this week about being pregnant during calving season so you don't have to carry any calves. Like,
Yes.
a joke, but for people that didn't see it. But I'm also just curious, like when, so you're pregnant now with your fourth baby, is that correct?
Yes, fourth. Fourth. Yep.
So when you're pregnant, does that change your role on the ranch at all? Or because you're mostly in the office, does that, you know, mostly stay the same, or are there things that change with that 9 month window for you, and maybe short postpartum window as well?
Yeah, I for the most part my main job is doing marketing and data management. So my main contributions, I would say, to the ranch stay pretty much the same. And that's been the setup kind of since I started, because really since I started I have either been pregnant or had a baby with me on the ranch. That being said, I do make a lot of jokes about being kind of a mediocre ranch hand, and that is not an exaggeration. I Man, I like to help and I sure give it the college try, but there are many times that I hurt more than I help. So, um, but the difference being, there are times when I am not pregnant, which has not been super often in the last 6 years, but when they'll have me come out and help because they need an extra body. But like I said, I really am a last resort. They humor me and make me feel good about myself, but uh, um, I'm usually only called in a desperate situation. Otherwise, I do tag along with Jake quite a bit, and I'll help him on weekends when he's on by himself. And when I say that, we have so we are a family operation, but we also have 4 full-time guys outside of Jake, and my parents and I. So when I say they, I mean I mean the other guys. They're really nice to me about it, but they are probably like, get out of here, please. um, so but yeah, and then part of the marketing too is I do a lot of social media for the ranch as well. And so I do have to get out there a lot when they're doing all the interesting things that you want to catch on video. And so um that does get a little bit different when I'm pregnant, like we just had a sale in November, and we always we do registered cattle, so we sell registered females in the fall in November at our production sale. And usually I will take a day before or 2 days before a video of them sorting the lots into pens in our hoop barns. And I'm usually up on a fence or a gate or those kinds of things, or sometimes I'll run a gate. And like this year, they would not let me do that. So, uh, our cow boss, Craig Howard, basically said that he didn't want Jake to kill him if I if I got run into by a cow. So,
That's fair.
um, yeah. So, everybody's really good about watching out for me, probably more than I watch out for myself. But uh, yeah, it definitely changes.
Yeah. And then how about like your postpartum recovery time? Like, there's kind of this, I don't know if it's fair to call it a trend, but maybe an emergence of more people taking like a full like month or 40 days to rest after each baby. And then
Mhm.
there's people that are like right back out there a week later or whatever, like right back in, their full role. So where on that spectrum, if you're okay sharing, do you kind of fall
Yeah.
in?
I am a person that does not do well sitting or resting. I kind of have to force myself to do either of those things. So I tend to be up and moving pretty quickly. As far as work goes, I usually, it depends on the time of year. I've pretty much had all of my kids kind of in the springtime. But that also tends to be a little bit busier time for me because I do catalogs for all of our sales. And so I kind of just try and get as much done as I can beforehand, but most of the time I am working at home during my maternity leave. I don't necessarily go over to the ranch. I usually I would say I would take about 3 months where I work at home when I need to, not full time. But yeah, I mean, I'm still up and moving and over there or jumping in the Ranger with the kids. And that's the other thing about having the kids full time is you're not sending your other kids to daycare. So maternity leave, as you would call it, I don't know if I would even call it that because it's different, but uh for me just doesn't look quite the same. I'll still have my other kids with me. And they aren't going to stop just because mom had a baby. So, uh and the kind of the way I figure it too is that life just really doesn't stop for that either. So, I do try to get as much rest as I can and give myself as much grace as I can. And thankfully, with a fourth baby, I feel kind of worn in like an old glove. Like I know what I'm doing. I know kind of what to expect from my body. Um, and I've recovered more quickly kind of every single time. So I feel pretty confident that this time around will be very similar. Um, and also too, the other hard part is that when I have all these babies kind of in that early springtime, later springtime is kind of when things get fun, like all the snow melts and we're starting to brand calves and they're breeding and all, the cows are going out to pasture. So it's like all the things you really just don't want to miss out on too. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I take my full time probably to recover, but I think that's okay too. It's worked pretty well for me. So
Yeah, I feel like it's different when your job is also your lifestyle,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
for sure.
Like
Yes.
it's one thing to take a maternity leave from a job, but I feel like
Yep.
it's totally different when it's life. So like for me, I had planned, I just had my first baby. She's 5 months old now, and I had planned on taking the full 40 days, and I like got care for all my animals, and I have a bunch of horses and got people to handle everything. And I was like, I'm going to turn my phone off so I can really be present and not be thinking about anything else. And like, here's emergency numbers if anything goes wrong,
Yep.
like don't talk to me. And I think I lasted like 2 weeks, and then I had like a full breakdown, and I was like, I don't know who I am. I need to go to the barn.
Yep.
I can't do this anymore. So yeah, I think it's different when it's also like, you look forward to those things. You love like, the seasonal aspects of ranch life, and being with your animals and being involved in the lifestyle. And it feels almost in some ways like you're depriving yourself when you try to walk away. Even like I had COVID last year, and it was the same, like trying to stay in bed for that long was
Yep.
like so hard, because I just so want that sense of normal, even though from the outside it kind of looks like work. If that makes
Yes. Yes. No, I I sometimes feel like when you go on social media or you uh just kind of look at the world today, there's like this trend that you're either present with your kids or you're not. And uh I don't think the two things are necessarily mutually exclusive. I think that you can be a good mother, be present for your children, and still not shut off the parts of you that make you you. Uh, you know, Motherhood doesn't have to, you don't have to be a martyr. You don't have to give up everything you love, give up your job to be a really good mother. And some women love to do that. Some women just don't want to, like, they just want to stay home. They just want to be a mom. And I think that is awesome. I personally just, I couldn't do that. Like you said, it kind of made me feel like I'm just not me. I didn't feel like I was, I don't feel like I am the best mom to my kids when I'm not doing things that also, fill my cup or serve my heart. And I know it looks, like you said, looks like work, but ranch life and just doing, the different marketing things, and even, my social media on the side, like I started that because I love doing it. I just have so much fun making that content. And um some people don't get that, and that's okay. But it does bring fulfillment to me, and I'm a better parent to my kids. I'm a better wife to my husband. Um, when I also have those parts of my life too. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah, it definitely shows, at least for me, like watching your content, like it looks like you're having fun. It looks like
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
which is great. I feel like that's so important. And I feel like, especially in the world of social media, it's so easy to get caught up in the shoulds and the like,
Yes.
what things should look like, or
Hmm.
why aren't things going, perfectly or whatever, or
Yes.
all of that. And it seems like you do a great job of, again, that balance of like um finding the happy medium between like, this is serious and important work, and also like, let's have fun while we do it, which is great.
Yes.
Very inspiring.
Thank
um
you.
yeah. um did you feel like your relationship to the ranch changed after having kids, or did it mostly stay the same? And also, I guess kind of in the same vein, do you feel like your life now looks the way that you, once you decided to come back to the ranch and decided to have your family there, does this look kind of how you had envisioned it, or is it different in that way?
I would say my relationship to the ranch most definitely changed. Even just finding my husband and coming back, and then starting a family and coming back. When I left after high school, I did not have I did not have a solid view of being here. Like I said, I left. I really had no intention of coming back. I felt kind of like an outsider. Uh, I wasn't what you would call in the old days a cowgirl. I think thankfully that has evolved greatly into just kind of so many different things, and I love that. But at the time, when you're kind of impressionable and young like that, if you don't feel like you exactly fit into a mold or a stereotype, it can make it be like, I just don't want to be here at all. And that was kind of what I was feeling. I had a lot of other interests outside of the ranch. I really liked the ranch, but I also had a lot of interests outside of it. And people just sometimes don't understand that. I wanted to be, I kind of liked the duplicity of being able to one day be covered in manure in the pasture, and then the next day be, at a nice restaurant, and being able to navigate a city. Like, I wanted to be able to do both, and I didn't feel like there was a place for that. So I just didn't really, like I said, really feel like I had a solid relationship until we came back. And then I kind of just said, screw that, and decided that I was just gonna be me, and uh be all the things that I loved or that made me me, and just not listen to anybody who kind of said I shouldn't be here or that I shouldn't be a part of this place. And that helped me to rediscover a love that I have for this lifestyle. And then having kids really just strengthened that for me. It kind of just was like the real solidifying factor for me loving the life here. Uh, bringing kids into the world is terrifying anymore. The world is so scary. And being able to bring them into the world here versus into the world where they would have to play inside a fence or, live next to a million other people, or go to a school where I have to worry about what they're learning all day, who's there, what kind of interactions they're having. Like, I honestly get anxiety just saying those things right now and thinking about people that have to do that. Because our kids go to a small school. My oldest daughter, she has a very small class, and I know pretty much all of the teachers there, and I know pretty much all of the other parents there. And so I told my husband it's almost like having a million eyes on her instead of just us worrying about her. There's so many people worrying about her. And it's the same on the ranch. They get all this exposure to nature, they get this exposure to livestock, they get exposure to hard work that you just don't see, and also the exposure to, like I talked about earlier, mom and dad working. If you just work at a desk for somebody at a corporation, they aren't going to let you bring your kids. Your kids aren't going to be able to sit there and know really what you're doing, and they don't learn a lot from that. And so just the things that we're doing now. My youngest is a boy, and he rides in the tractor with my husband, and he can tell you all the ingredients that go into the feed truck for each ration. Like, it's just fascinating what they can learn just from watching and being immersed in it. And so I think all of that has really just strengthened my relationship with the ranch and being here, and made it so that I know this is where I want to be, and I know this is where I want to raise my family, and I have no question or regret about having a family here versus having a family where we were living before, for sure, 100%. And was there a second part to that question? I'm sorry.
So I think you got it. It was just kind of this
Okay.
idea of like, what you kind of envisioned versus what the reality is. And I feel like you pretty much like covered that. Yeah, beautifully.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have any kind of advice for new moms or moms that are struggling to find this balance, or moms that are resisting moving back to ranch life, or any people that have been in your shoes, what kind of words of wisdom or advice or inspiration could you offer them?
I mean, I would say the biggest thing is to just follow where your heart, or if you're a Christian like me, where God leads you. I for so long resisted that, and it ended up being exactly what I needed, and he showed me that so beautifully over the course of the last 6 or 7 years. And so if you're feeling that pull or that tug towards something different or a big change like that, even if you're scared, just do it. I can almost guarantee that if you're feeling a tug, it's for a reason. And that the worst that could happen is that it doesn't work out and you go back to whatever you were doing or wherever you were before. Um, and then also with the whole balance thing, I think the big thing to remember there is that nobody ever has it all figured out. And balance is a relative term. It's really just whatever feels balanced to you. It's not what looks balanced on the internet. It's not what your neighbor says is balanced or your mom even says is balanced. I know sometimes with ranching and family businesses like that, our parents can be very close and be very opinionated about what we're doing. But just kind of staying true to your compass and understanding that what you do and what your life looks like doesn't have to look like anybody else's, and really nobody else has to approve of it or agree with it. So whatever your balance is, if you feel good about it and you have given yourself grace to kind of figure that out, then that is what is going to work for you. And I had a friend today that I was just talking to, and um something I said to her, she's kind of struggling with her family, kind of not being super impressed with some of her choices. And I said to her, um, one thing that I live by is I never take advice or put much stock in the opinions of people whose life I don't want. So if it's somebody that is giving me these opinions or advice and I don't want the exact life that they have, then thanks for the advice, but I'm still going to do me. Uh, and I think that's really important to remember that everybody has an opinion and everybody's going to say something about what you're doing. But as long as, like I said, you're following your compass and you're really staying true to your path and to what's most important to your family, your kids, your life, your marriage, then that's really going to be what matters. And if you keep focusing on that every day, then things will fall into place.
Amazing. I can't think of a better place to leave off. If you could just share where people can find you, maybe your social media, and if you want to share the ranch as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can find me on both Facebook. Facebook's kind of new, but both Facebook and Instagram as The Basic Ranch Mom. And then I also have a website, which is www.thebasicranchmom.com. So all pretty easy to find. Yeah, and if you want to know more about our Red Angus seed stock operation, that is Bieber Red Angus. So it's BIEBER Red Angus .com, or you can find those on socials as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I am so flattered that you asked me to do this, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's so fun. I feel like you have such a great perspective. So it's great. Great to hear all of that. And great
Thank
story, like a little, unique. So it's awesome.
Yes. Thank you.